रिकॉर्ड स्टार्ट आ जाएगा।
Hello, good morning, guys. Today we are going to see or to discuss about the chemotherapy. So we are going to start our new system, that is antimicrobial agents. So antimicrobial agents, they are used as chemotherapeutic agents or the therapy which is called as a chemotherapy. Now chemotherapy particularly is the treatment of infectious diseases or malignancy with drugs that destroy microorganisms or cancer cells with minimum damage to host tissue. Infection may be due to bacteria, viruses, fungi, protozoa, or helminthes. Now coming to what is antibiotic. Now most of the infections, they are treated by giving antibiotics. So before this, we must know the difference between antibiotics and antimicrobial agents. So antibiotics are the chemical substances obtained from microorganisms that kill or suppress the growth of other microorganisms at a very low concentration. Now antimicrobial agents, these are synthetic as well as naturally obtained drug that acts against microorganisms. So that means the antibiotics which are obtained from microorganisms, they are used for inhibiting the growth or killing other microorganisms, whereas antimicrobial agents, these are the agents which are obtained naturally as well as synthetically, and they are used against other microorganisms to inhibit their growth. Now these antimicrobial agents, they are classified depending upon their chemical structure, mechanism of action, type of organism against which it acts, spectrum of activity, then type of action, then source. So chemical structure, mechanism of action, type of organism against which primarily it is active, then spectrum of activity, then type of action, that may be bacteriostatic and bactericidal, and source of antibiotics. Now as far as the chemical structures is concerned, these antimicrobial agents are, number one, they belong sulfonamide groups. For example, dapsone, sulfadazine, para-aminosalicylic acid. Then another group, that is diaminopyrimidine. The example is trimethoprim, pyrimethamine. Then quinolones, which includes nalidixic acid, norfloxacin, ciprofloxacin. Then beta-lactam antibiotic like penicillins, cephalosporins. Then tetracyclines like oxytetracycline, doxycycline. Then nitrobenzene derivatives, that is chloramphenicol. Then comes aminoglycosides. Now the drugs which includes in this group aminoglycosides, these are streptomycin, gentamicin, amikacin, and neomycin. Another this group, that is macrolide antibiotics. Now these are erythromycin, clarithromycin, azithromycin. Then lincosamide antibiotics like clindamycin. glycopeptide antibiotics like vancomycin, polypeptide antibiotics like polymyxin B, bacitracin, tyrothricin. Another group that is nitrofuran derivatives, that is nitrofuran, furazolidine, then nitroimidazole group, that is a metronidazole, tinidazole, then nicotinic acid derivatives like isoniazide, pyrazinamide, ethionamide. Choline antibiotics, for example, amphotericin B, nystatin, hemicin. Azole derivatives like miconazole, clotrimazole, ketoconazole, and fluconazole. Then others are rifampicin, ethambutol, and grisofulvine. Now, second classification based on the mechanism of action of the antimicrobial agents. Now, this is the structure of the bacteria, for example, which includes the upper covering, that is a cell wall. The inner to this is cell membrane, and inside this DNA RNA, that is a ribosome, messenger RNA, and this ultimately causes protein synthesis. So the drugs which act on the cell wall, now these drugs, they causes interference in the cell wall synthesis. So cell wall is not formed. Now this is actually which protects the cell. Now if the cell wall synthesis does not take place, then the air or water goes inside and it causes bursting of the bacteria, and this leads to the death of the organisms. So the antibiotics or antimicrobial agents which are used by inhibiting the mechanism, this cell wall synthesis, they causes killing of organisms. Now the drugs which causes inhibition in the cell wall synthesis, they are, for example, beta-lactam antibiotics, cephalosporins, vancomycin. Then another one is the leakage from the cell membrane. Now here also the cell membrane, if that is not formed, or if there is a leakage, then water or air goes inside, causing bursting of the bacteria, and the drug which produces its action, antibacterial action, by the causing leakage from the cell membrane, these are polymyxin, polystine, amphotericin B, nystatin, and hemicin. Then third one is the drugs which produces its antibacterial action by causing misreading of messenger RNA. Now the drugs which inhibits or causes misreading of messenger RNA, these are aminoglycosides antibiotic like streptomycin, gentamicin. Then the another mechanism by which it causes or it produces antibacterial action is inhibition, causing inhibition of protein synthesis. Now the drugs which having action on the microorganism by inhibiting the protein synthesis, these are tetracyclines, aminoglycosides antibiotic like streptomycin, gentamicin, then macrolide antibiotic like erythromycin, azithromycin, roxithromycin. Then another one is clindamycin and chloramphenicol, that is a broad spectrum antibiotic. So here the drugs which produces antibacterial action by inhibiting the protein synthesis. Particularly, these are a broad spectrum antibiotic like tetracycline and chloramphenicol. Then another mechanism is inhibit the DNA gyrase. This is the enzyme. Now the drug that produces its antibacterial action by inhibiting DNA gyrase is fluoroquinolones. Now fluoroquinolones like norfloxacin, ciprofloxacin, pfloxacin. So these are the fluoroquinolones. Then another one is mechanism is interfere the DNA function. That is the drug which produces its action by inhibiting the DNA function, that is rifampicin. Then another mechanism is interfere the DNA synthesis. Now the drugs are acyclovir and zidovudine. That is antiviral agents. And last one, that is interfere with intermediary metabolism. Now the drug which interfere the metabolism and therefore may not make available the substance which is required for the growth of the organisms. These are sulfonamides, PAS and metronidazole. Sulfonamide particularly is not producing folic acid, which is essential for the growth of the organisms, and therefore the growth of organism does not take place. So inhibit the growth and its multiplication. So these are the agents which produces its antimicrobial action by inhibiting by causing this various mechanism of action. Then another classification that depends upon the type of organism against which it acts. Now there are certain which produces its action by acting on the bacteria. Therefore these agents are called as antibacterial agents, and the drugs are, for example, penicillins, cephalosporins, aminoglycosides like streptomycin, gentamicin, then macrolide antibiotics like erythromycin and other like roxithromycin. So these are called as antibacterial agents. Then another one is antiviral agents because they act against viruses, the infection caused by virus. These are acyclovir, amantadine, zidovudine. Then the drugs which act against fungal infection. Now therefore they are called as antifungal agents. Now these are griseofulvin, amphotericin B, ketoconazole, miconazole. Now these are called as antifungal agents. Now there are various infections which are all caused by certain protozoa, and the drugs which act against protozoa, therefore they are called as anti-protozoal agents. Now these agents are chloroquine, pyrimethamine and metronidazole. Chloroquine, which is used in the treatment of malaria, which is caused by Plasmodium vivax and Plasmodium falciparum. Pyrimethamine is also anti-malarial agents. Metronidazole is anti-amoebic agents. Now another one is anthelmintics, some worm infestations, and these agents are mebendazole, niclosamide, diethyl carbamazine. So these are the various organisms which are responsible for causing some infections. And the drugs which act on these organisms, depending on this, they are therefore called as either antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal, antiprotozoal, and anti-helminthics. Then another classification based on its spectrum of activity. Now, spectrum of activity, either they are called as a narrow spectrum antibiotic or broad spectrum antibiotic. Narrow spectrum antibiotic, that means the spectrum is a limited one. For example, some drugs, they act against mainly either gram-positive organisms or against gram-negative organisms. They do not have the action against both the organisms, and therefore they are having action or called as a narrow spectrum antibiotic. Now drugs are, for example, penicillin G, streptomycin, erythromycin. They are particularly effective against gram-positive organisms. Now broad spectrum antibiotics, these are, now as far as this narrow spectrum antibiotics, penicillin J mainly effective against gram-positive organisms. Streptomycins, they are mainly effective against gram-negative organisms. They do not have action against gram-positive organisms. Now, as far as broad spectrum of antibiotics are concerned, they are tetracyclines, chloramphenicol. Now, they have got a wide spectrum of activity. Now, not only they are effective against gram-positive and gram-negative organisms, but they are also having action against chlamydia organisms and rickettsia also. And that's why they are called as a broad-spectrum antibiotic. So, then coming to the another classification, that is depending upon its type of action. Now these drugs, they either inhibit the growth of the organisms or their multiplication. Therefore, these agents are called as bacteriostatic agents. And those antimicrobial agents which causes killing of the microorganisms, they are called as the bactericidal agents. Now, as far as bacteriostatic agents are concerned, these agents are, for example, sulfonamide, tetracyclines, chloramphenicol, erythromycin, ethambutol, etc. Now, ethambutol is an anti-tuberculous agent, which is a bacteriostatic agent. Now, bacteriostatic that kills the microorganisms, these are penicillins, aminoglycosides antibiotic, polypeptides antibiotic, ciprofloxacin, that is the fluoroquinolones, metronidazole, which is anti-amoebic agents, cotrimoxazole, that is a combination of sulfonamide, sulfamethoxazole, that is, and trimethoprim. And last classification depends upon the source from which the drugs are obtained. So these are the agents which obtained from fungi, fungus, molds. These agents are penicillins, grisophylline, that is a antifungal agents, cephalosporins. Then the drugs which obtained from bacteria like polymyxin, tyrothricin, colistin, aztreonam, and bacitracin. Then the drugs which are obtained from actinomycetes like aminoglycosides, macrolide antibiotics, tetracyclines, and chloramphenicol. Now coming to the principles of antimicrobial therapy, that depends upon the diagnosis of the condition or diseases, depends upon the site of infection, the organisms which are responsible for causing the infection or for causing the disease, sensitivity of the organisms to particular drugs. So depends on this, the drugs are that means to be selected. Now to decide whether chemotherapy is necessary or not. So acute infection require chemotherapy, while chronic infection may not require the antimicrobial agents. Chronic abscess like having pus or some prosthetics in that or some other foreign bodies in the body, they respond very poorly. Then select of the drug. For example, for the treatment of some infection, so specificity particularly, its spectrum of activity, its antimicrobial activity of the drug depends upon the pharmacokinetic factors, physiochemical properties of the drug, patient related factors. Now another principles of antimicrobial therapy, that is the frequency and duration of drug administration. How frequently the drug to be given to the patient, how long it should be given, in what doses. So these are some conditions. Beside this, in some conditions, the drugs are used prophylactically for prevention of certain diseases or some infections. Now, when the patients are treated by giving certain antimicrobial agents, there are certain problems that arises during therapy. Now, these problems are, for example, number one, that is toxicity, the drug which produces hypersensitivity reactions. Patients may show some hypersensitive response. Drug resistance may develop during therapy or particularly with some drugs. There may be drug tolerance which is developed over a period of time, and therefore the efficacy of the drug is reduced. So the drug may fail to produce its adequate, that means action. A prolonged therapy in some patients required if the patient is chronically ill or there are certain conditions which requires a drug therapy for a very long period. In these situations, these drugs, particularly antibiotics, they are likely to produce or develop super infections. That means appearance of new infection in these patients. So now here coming to the toxicity which is produced by the drugs. Now there are two types of toxicity. One is local and another one is systemic toxicity. Local toxicity exerted at that is seen at the site of the administration. Second one is, so that is in the form of, for example, injection is given. So there is local edema, pain at the site of injections. There may be abscess formations. Then if the drug given orally, it may produce gastric irritation. There may be pain in the abdomen. So the drug, if given by intravenous route, likely to produce thrombophlebitis. So these are some local problems which is seen during therapy. Then the systemic toxicity. Now the patients which are treated by giving antimicrobial agents or antibiotics which are having a very high therapeutic index, they may not likely to produce any toxic effects. So they are always safe, even if given in very large doses. For example, penicillin or erythromycin. So with these penicillins, it is a safest drug. So therefore, it is not likely to produce any toxic effects in the patient. Now the drugs which are having a low therapeutic index which is more than 1, that is called as a high therapeutic index. They are likely to produce a toxic effects. Now therapeutic index, you might be knowing, that is a ratio between the LD50 and PD50. LD50 means the drug when given, 50% of population is killed with the dose given. And effective, that is a ED, that means adequate effect is seen in 50% population with the dose. So the ratio which is seen, that is a lethal dose divided by effective dose, you get a therapeutic index. So therapeutic index, if it is having high, more than 1, these drugs are likely to produce less or no side effects or no toxicity. Now the drugs which are having high therapeutic index and are likely to produce more toxic effects, these are drugs which are having a low therapeutic index are likely to produce more toxicity. These are aminoglycosides antibiotic. They causes 8 nerve damage. They may produce a kidney damage also. Then another one is broad spectrum antibiotic like tetracycline. It may cause damage to the liver, so liver toxicity, and that may also causes kidney toxicity. Then another one is from this group, broad spectrum antibiotic like chloramphenicol. This causes bone marrow depression. Now particularly chloramphenicol when given in children, it causes gray baby syndrome. So these are the agents which are toxic agents, and therefore before giving these agents, one must see the kidney function, liver function. If it is normal, then it is given in the normal doses. Otherwise, either you will have to reduce the dose or avoid giving such drugs in the patients. There are certain drugs which are having a very low therapeutic index, and so they are proved to be a very toxic one. These agents are, for example, polymyxin B, which causes neurological toxicity and also causes renal toxicity. Another drug is vancomycin. It's another antibiotic which causes hearing loss and kidney damage. Then amphotericin B, antifungal agent, that is causing kidney damage, bone marrow depression, neurological disorders or neurological toxicity. So these are the agents. So one must keep in mind while giving the drug to the patients about its toxicity. Then another one is during therapy, another problem that is we have to face is hypersensitivity reactions. Some patients, they are hypersensitive. These are, for example, when the drug are given, they produces some hyper response. Now, for example, penicillin. Now, the patient who is sensitive to penicillin, such patient, even a very small dose of penicillin is given, it may likely to produce this reaction, anaphylactic reaction or anaphylactic shock, and therefore one must know such patients. In such patient, before knowing that whether the patient is sensitive to penicillin or not, we have to do a sensitivity test. And then only if the patient is not sensitive, then can be given penicillin, otherwise no. Then drug tolerance. Loss of affinity, that is a loss of affinity to the drug by an organism. So drug may not be able to produce its action, or efficacy is less in this case. And most important one is resistant developed. When the patient is treated by giving the drug for a longer period, or when the patient is given single drug therapy, here the chances of developing resistance are more. Now, for example, the patients like tuberculosis, if the single drug therapy in this patient is given, there may be likely to produce the resistance rapidly. Therefore, one must keep in mind while giving the drugs to the patient. Now, what does it mean? Resistance means what? Resistance means unresponsiveness of microorganisms to an antimicrobial agents. This is just similar to that of drug tolerance. That means over a period of time, the response of the drug gradually decreases. So this resistance may be of two types. One is natural resistance, another one is called as acquired resistance. Now resistance, natural resistance particularly. Now here, some microbes have resistance to certain antimicrobial agents. Now here, some sensitive population of organisms, they contain some mutant cells which requires very high concentration to inhibit its growth, or they may not respond to the concentration which is given. Now in this case, when the drugs are given, the sensitive population of organism is eliminated, and this mutant cell which is resistant one, they get a chance to proliferate, and therefore eventually the sensitive population is eliminated, leaving only the resistant population of the organisms. Now here, for example, the natural resistance, for example, gram-negative bacilli, they are पीछे पड़ो रेजिस्टेंस रेजिस्टेंस नहीं और पीछे और पीछे करो बस नहीं पीछे अभी ये डिलीट करना है ना जो बोला हो जाता है अपने So coming to the resistance, now resistance means unresponsiveness of microorganisms to an AMA, and it is similar to the phenomena of drug tolerance. Now this is of two types: natural resistance and acquired resistance. Now natural resistance is some microbes they are resistant to certain antimicrobial agents right from the beginning. That means even though they are not exposed to any antimicrobial agents, for example, gram-negative bacilli, which are not affected by penicillin G, Mycobacterium tuberculosis, which is not responding to tetracycline. So they are resistant to these drugs. So acid fast bacilli, tuberculous bacilli, gram-negative bacilli. So they are not responding to either penicillin or tuberculous bacilli to tetracycline. Then second one is acquired resistance. Now development of resistance here by an organism which was sensitive before due to the use of antimicrobial agents over a period of time. So with the therapy, with the treatment over a period of time, this sensitive microorganism later on develop resistance to these antimicrobial agents. Now the bacilli which develops resistance by this acquired resistance process, these are Staphylococci, tuberculous bacilli. These are developed resistance to Staphylococci to penicillin. Second one is gonococci, develop resistance to sulfonamides. Now, how this is developed? Now, the process by which the resistance is developed, this is number one, by resistance is developed by mutation either or gene transfer. Now mutation, that is a few mutant cell which is present in some this sensitive population which requires very high concentrations to inhibit its growth. Now when the sensitive population is eliminated by the antimicrobial agents, left only the resistance, this mutant cell, and they get a chance to proliferate, remaining only the resistant microorganisms population. Now these are developed by number one is the single step, and another one is developed by a multi-step. So type of this mutation is either single step or multi-step. Single step means which emerges rapidly. Now, for example, the organisms which develop this resistance by mutation. This is Enterococci to streptomycin, and then second one is E. coli or Staphylococci to rifampicin. Then another one is multi-step mutation, that is a development of resistance slowly or gradually in a stepwise manner. Now, for example, tetracycline or chloramphenicol, and another one is erythromycin. They develop this resistance slowly. Then another one is resistance developed by gene transfer. Now, this is number one is by conjugation process, second one is by transduction, and third one is transformation. Now conjugations, through this the resistance organisms is transmitted to the sensitive one through sexual contact. So here the gene carrying resistance is transferred from one organism to another through the sex pilus or through the breech formation. So from one organism to another through the sexual contact is called as a conjugation process. So here this is a gene transfer. Second one is a transduction. Now in transduction, the gene carrying resistance from one organism to another through bacteriophage. The agency which is required here for the transmission of resistance bacteria from one organism to another through bacteriophage. And the organisms that develop resistance through this transduction is Staphylococci. Then third one is transformation. Now the resistant bacteria, they may release the resistant carrier DNA into the environment, and this is taken by the another sensitive organisms and is responsible for developing the resistance. This is called as a transformation. Now coming to the superinfection. Now the resistance, we were talking about the development of resistance. Now one more is cross resistance. Now cross resistance means once the resistance is developed to one organism which is chemically related, for example one particular group, there are 3-4 other antimicrobial agents in that group which is chemically related. So once the resistance is developed to one particular drug from this group, maybe develop resistance to another antimicrobial agents from that group is called as a cross resistance. Then how to prevent the development of drug resistance? Now the drug resistance can be prevented by number one, there should not be indiscriminate use of antimicrobial agents for the treatment of any particular infection. There should not be any minor infection treated by giving antimicrobial agents. There should not be any inadequate doses of the drug, no unduly prolonged use of antimicrobial agents. So these are possibly the reasons for the development of resistance. So there should not be no indiscriminate and inadequate or unduly prolonged use of antimicrobial agents. Now second one is rapidly acting and selective antimicrobial agents should be used. Now particularly rapidly acting antimicrobial agents like bacteriostatic agents, they are to be preferred for the treatment of this infection caused by microorganism. Now if the organisms are unknown, so no specific organisms is responsible for causing the infection, then in that case broad spectrum antibiotic should be used. Now third one is use combination of antimicrobial agents whenever a prolonged drug therapy is required. Now for example, the diseases like tuberculosis, AIDS, that is acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, HIV patient. Now here the drug treatment required for a longer duration of time, and that's why in this case a single drug therapy should not be used. So For the treatment of such type of conditions, always the drug combination should be used so that we can prevent the development of resistance. The infection because of certain notorious organisms like Staphylococci, E. coli, Mycobacterium tuberculosis, Proteus. So this causes a very severe and serious conditions or diseases. They must be treated intensively by giving the antimicrobial agents. So that is how one can prevent the development of resistance. Now coming to the superinfection. Now superinfection means the appearance of new infection. Now while treating the patients with the antimicrobial agents, particularly antibiotic, when it is given for a longer period, there may be appearance of the another infection besides the infection which is treated by giving these drugs. Now you know that there is in the body there is a normal bacterial flora which contributes the host defense. Now this host defense particularly is improved or increased by elaborating the substance called as bacteriocin. Now which is inhibited by the pathogenic organisms. So bacteriocin which inhibit the pathogenic organisms. Now when there is alteration of this bacterial flora with the use of antimicrobial agents, so this bacteriocin will not be elaborated. So there will be no inhibition of pathogenic organisms, and that's why the infection may appear. So this is responsible for causing the superinfection. And now the organisms which are causing or responsible for causing the superinfections, these are, for example, Candida albicans, Staphylococci, Clostridia group of organisms, particularly Clostridia difficile, Proteus organisms, Pseudomonas. So these are particularly the organisms, and the sites which involved by these organisms, these are oropharynx, intestine, respiratory system, genitourinary system, and particularly they causes diarrhea, thrush, vulvovaginitis, and the organisms which causes this diarrhea, vulvovaginitis, these are Candida albicans, and this infection which they produce is treated by giving antifungal agents like nystatin and clotrimazole. Then staphylococcal infection which is developed with the use of antimicrobial agents, they causes enteritis, and this is treated by giving vancomycin or cloxacillin. Then another organisms which is responsible for causing superinfection is Clostridia difficile, which causes the infection that is called as a pseudomembranous enterocolitis. So pseudomembranous enterocolitis is treated by giving metronidazole, and another one is vancomycin. The Proteus infection, which is treated by giving cephalosporins, gentamicin, and cefoperazone, which is a cefoperazone, that is a cephalosporin, third generation cephalosporin, which produces Urinary tract infection, enteritis, and which is treated by giving this drug. Then pseudomonal infection is common as a super infection produced by a broad spectrum, particularly antibiotic when given for a longer period. Pseudomonal infection is treated by giving carbapenicillin, piperacillin. These are the penicillins which are effective against Pseudomonas. Ceftazidime, then cefoperazone. These are the cephalosporins which are used for the treatment of infection caused by Pseudomonas. Then to minimize this development of superinfection or for causing the superinfection, one can minimize this infection by using a specific antimicrobial agents. For example, if you know that this is a streptococcal infection, now the antimicrobial agents or the antibiotics which are effective against streptococci, these are to be used not as a broad spectrum antibiotic in this case. No minor infection is treated by giving antibiotics, and no unnecessary prolonged therapy is given with the antimicrobial agents. So by observing this, one can minimize the development of or causing the superinfection. Now coming to the choice of infection, how to select the antimicrobial agents. So now we'll stop here, and when we can continue this in the next lecture. Thank you very much.